Hi everybody, welcome to Langer at the Mic. The Stanley Cup Final is finally upon us between the Colorado Avalanche and Tampa Bay Lightning. So today, we'll be talking about 7 lessons that the Montreal Canadiens, or any NHL team for that matter, can learn from the Avalanche and the Lightning. The first lesson that can be learned, and the Avalanche are an example of this, is that you have to hit on your top 10 picks when you get them. When you have a difficult season and are blessed with a top 10 pick as a result, or even more blessed by winning a lottery selection, you have to choose the best player available and take advantage of that opportunity. Nathan MacKinnon is a prime example of that, of course. The Avs took him back in 2013. He's their franchise center. Could be a Conn Smythe Trophy candidate if the Avalanche do win the Stanley Cup. But not just Nathan MacKinnon. I'm also talking about Cale Makar, who was the 4th overall pick in the 2017 draft. And he was taken behind Nico Hischier and Nolan Patrick and Miro Heiskanen, and arguably came out as the best player in that draft. Maybe closely challenged by Miro Heiskanen, but miles ahead of Nolan Patrick and certainly ahead of Nico Hischier. The Avs also got Mikko Rantanen at 10th overall in the 2015 draft, which was the same year as Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel, Dylan Strome, Mitch Marner, Noah Hanifin, Pavel Zacha, Ivan Provorov, Zach Werenski, and Timo Meier, who all got drafted ahead of Mikko Rantanen. And even though that's a very strong top 10, don't get me wrong, that's an awesome top 10, probably one of the best in the last decade, Mikko Rantanen is still the 5th best player, maybe 6th at worst of that group. And the Avs got him at 10th overall, which means they really capitalized on the value of that 10th overall pick in 2015. Last but not least, of course, Gabriel Landeskog was picked 2nd overall by the Avalanche in 2011. Maybe not a slam dunk of a pick, considering the fact that Jonathan Huberdeau was taken right after him, and then also Mika Zibanejad got taken by the Sens, who ended up getting traded to the Rangers for Derek Brassard, but that's a whole other story. But either way, Landeskog is still a superstar in his own right. He's been a point per game player in the last couple of years. He's the captain of the Colorado Avalanche and one of the best two-way wingers in the NHL. Now, along those lines, the second lesson that can be learned between the Colorado Avalanche and Tampa Bay Lightning, this one's more specific to the Lightning. The second lesson is you can find stars in the mid to late rounds of a draft. According to a study by Dauber Prospects, you have less than a 40% chance at becoming a regular NHL player if you're picked in the 2nd round or later. But if you're a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning, who takes chances on players in the 2nd, 3rd, and later rounds, well then you can possibly find the right traits, and you can possibly find guys like Nikita Kucherov in the 2nd round or Braden Point in the 3rd round. But not just that, you could also find someone like Ross Colton, who was a 4th round pick and scored the Stanley Cup winning goal last year and is obviously a key role player for the Lightning, or Alex Killorn, a top 6 player, he was a 3rd round pick, or even Andre Palat, who was a 7th round pick. Now, going back to star players, the third thing that can be learned from both the Lightning and the Avalanche is that you need your star players to be on good contracts. On the Colorado side, you got Nathan MacKinnon on probably the best contract in the NHL at a cap hit of $6.3 million per season. Mikko Rantanen is at a cap hit of $9.25 million. Nazem Kadri, he is a UFA after the season, but he is on a cap hit of $4.5 million. Makar is on a cap hit of $9 million, which is a really good deal for the Avs, considering the fact that Darnell Nurse is getting paid more, and Drew Doughty and Erik Karlsson are both getting paid more than $10 million per season. Then, of course, Captain Gabriel Landeskog is on a $7 million cap hit as a point per game winger, which is a really good deal considering the fact that he is a really good two-way forward, their captain, and a point per game player. On the Tampa side, Nikita Kucherov has a cap hit of $9.5 million, which is pretty much par for a star winger, while both Braden Point and Steven Stamkos are under $10 million per season, which is really good for Tampa, considering that top centermen are worth $10 million and beyond in today's NHL. Then Victor Hedman is under $8 million, which is another steal for Tampa. Ryan McDonough is under $7 million as a really good top 3 defenseman. And of course, in goal, Andrei Vasilevsky. Yes, he's the one of the top 3 highest paid goaltenders in the NHL, but he is the best goaltender on the planet right now. The bottom line is your star players should ideally be on really good contracts, or at the very least, they should be as productive as the top dollars that they're getting paid. And if you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Colorado Avalanche, none of them really have that many contracts where you look at it where you're thinking about buying it out in the near future. So again, just both the Lightning and the Avalanche are really, really good at managing their cap efficiently. Tampa's even so good at managing the cap that they snuck in an extra $18 million on their Stanley Cup winning roster from last year, but that's another story. The fourth thing we can learn from both the Avalanche and the Lightning is that playoff experience matters. Adding proven playoff performers either in free agency or at the trade deadline, guys that can complement your star players and fill out your bottom 6, they can really be the difference that can put you over the top. If you look at the Tampa Bay side, after they got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round when they won the President's Trophy, who did they add that offseason? Patrick Maroon, fresh off a Stanley Cup championship with the St. Louis Blues. And yeah, Pat Maroon isn't a guy that's going to play on their top 2 lines. He's still a guy that brings that championship experience to the locker room, and he has been a real factor, just a big body, physical player, agitator in Tampa's bottom 6 these past 3 seasons. And of course, they added Corey Perry, fresh off his back-to-back Stanley Cup Final appearances. And of course, Perry has the experience of winning the Stanley Cup back with the Anaheim Ducks way back in 2007. And Corey Perry, even though he hasn't won in a long time, he's still been to the Cup Final in back-to-back seasons. So he's fresh off of that experience of getting to the Cup Final. He knows what it takes. He knows what it's like to be down 3-1 in a playoff series and to come back and to score goals in clutch moments as he did with the Dallas Stars. And he's also been a factor for the Tampa Bay Lightning in their playoff run. Then of course on the Colorado side, Artturi Lehkonen, the guy who scored the conference final clinching goal for the Montreal Canadiens last year, sending the Habs to their first Stanley Cup Final since 1993. What does he do? He sends the Colorado Avalanche to their first Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 2001, and he's been a tremendous asset to the Avs. He's been a really good two-way player, really good playing with guys like Kadri and Mikko Rantanen and Nathan McKinnon. Even a guy like Darren Helm, who's 35 years old and still in the league somehow. He played with the later part of the Red Wings dynasty, won the Stanley Cup with them in 2008, played with Nick Lidstrom, Pavel Datsyuk, Henrik Zetterberg, so scored the overtime winner in 2009 that sent the Red Wings to the Stanley Cup Final over the Chicago Blackhawks and against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm sure he knows a thing or two about what it takes to win in the playoffs. And surely enough, he scored the series clinching goal with 5.6 seconds left against the Blues to send the Avs to the conference final. And I'm sure he has been a really great veteran presence in the locker room as well. The fifth lesson that can be learned from this Stanley Cup Final series is pretty simple and straightforward. With great goaltending, you could beat almost anyone in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, Andrei Vasilevsky, enough said. He's the greatest goaltender on the planet right now. He has, in his last 8 series clinching wins, he has a save percentage of 991, not 930, not 940, not 950, 991, with a goals against average of 0.25 and 6 shutouts. Again, maybe you won't always have the best goaltender in the world. That's a lot to ask for. But if you have really, really good goaltending, or even ideally great goaltending, you could beat anyone in the playoffs. That is lesson number 5. Lesson number 6, while you need high-end shutdown defensemen, you also need elite defensive forwards. Tampa has a bunch in Anthony Cirelli, Alex Killorn, Nick Paul, Braden Point, who, even though he's been out since the Toronto series, obviously was a major part in their last 2 Stanley Cup championships, having to play, not only obviously scoring all the goals and getting all the points that he did, but pun intended, but also playing against the other team's top lines. Then of course on the Colorado side, Nathan McKinnon, Arturi Lehkonen, JT Compher. Compher, of course, has had to step up in the absence of Nazem Kadri. And once again, of course, Gabriel Landeskog, one of the best two-way wingers in the NHL. These are all players that obviously have offensive capability, but also have a lot of hockey sense and defensive awareness and can be trusted upon to play against the other team's top lines. Maybe not always shut them down, like Connor McDavid wasn't going to get shut down by anyone in these playoffs, but they all have the ability to really challenge the opposing team's top players, and you need guys like that to win in the playoffs. The seventh lesson that can be learned from the Stanley Cup Final series is based on the fact that the Tampa Bay Lightning are in a position to win their third straight Stanley Cup, is that everyone has to buy in. I know it's so obvious, yet really hard to explain. Buy into an idea, buy into a system, buy into a concept. That's my best way of explaining Tampa Bay being in this position where they can win their third straight Stanley Cup. And I think it starts from a coach like John Cooper, passing it down to the leaders like Steven Stamkos and Victor Hedman. The best way I can explain it is that there isn't a single passenger on the Tampa Bay Lightning, especially once a series is on the line. From their top players in Stamkos, Kucherov, Hedman, all the way down to the Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, Corey Perry, and Pat Maroon. Every single player that is active for the Lightning for a given playoff game has a specific role, and they know exactly what they need to do within that role, and they just as a unit, as a team, they just know what it takes to win, and they know how to win, and that's all they've been doing in the playoffs for the last 3 years. So they could win a high scoring game, they could win a special teams battle, they could win the goaltending battle, they could obviously win the 2-1 1-0 game, as we all know. They could put 6 goalies on the ice with everyone just clamping it down and blocking shots like they did to the Leafs, Rangers, and Panthers this year, and everyone else the last two previous seasons. I don't know if that's something that can be taught. It's probably exclusive to the Tampa Bay Lightning, because I think that is the biggest reason why they are 4 wins away from winning their third straight Stanley Cup championship. What other lessons can be learned from the Avs and the Lightning, and what do you think is the most important one? Let me know in the comment section below. But that's it for this video. Once again, if you enjoyed it, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Mike Langer for both. And of course, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.